thank you for all coming. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kyle Peterson. I'm Don and Judy's oldest, youngest, and only son. I appreciate you all coming. I know some of you came from extremely long distances, including myself from Pennsylvania. But I just want to thank you for coming and joining us to celebrate Mom and Dad's 50th anniversary. So Mom and Dad, I wanted to do I started writing a tribute to you guys in July. It took a while. It took many different forms and evolved along the way. But I'm not one that's going to memorize it, so I got it all here written, and I'm going to read it out to you, and I hope you appreciate it. Mom and Dad, we're here celebrating your 50th anniversary. What a tremendous accomplishment. Because of God's grace and the love and dedication between you two, you have made it so much further than most couples. I wanted to honor you two with a written tribute from your son. However, I'm not really sure how to give you a tribute for 50 years of marriage. The more I think about it, your 50 years of marriage is really 43 years of family to me. So here's a humble attempt at honoring the two of you during your 50th anniversary. It was 1965 when the two of you got married. You were both 21 years old. When I first did the math, I could not believe that you were both that age at the time. That seems too young to me to be getting married. However, looking back when I married my wife, she was 21, like father, like son. I was 24. That's the only difference. Here are some interesting facts from 1965. There have been 9 presidents since 1965, 5 Republican, 4 Democrat. So all in all, more good years than bad. The average income, if I offended some people, I'm sorry. The average income for 1965 was $5,942. Can't even imagine. And a Palace station wagon was $3,115. I wish I could imagine. Postage stamps for 5 cents. Get smart premiered on TV. I think we are lucky our cell phones aren't built into our shoes. That would just be a little weird. James Bond's Thunderball was released in theaters. 25% of milk was still delivered to homes. Diet Pepsi becomes available for the first time. Pop-Tarts were invented. The Watts race riots happened on August 11th, 15 days before you were married. The Northeast blackout occurred November 9th and 10th. Kind of surprised Gail wasn't born in 1966. Winston Churchill died January 24th. Iron Man, the actor Robert Downey Jr. was born April 4th. Where would we be without Iron Man and the Avengers? Lucas would not be thrilled. The most important event was that you two got married. Without that, I would not be here, so it is a high rank on my list. You were 3 years into your marriage when your daughter was born and 6 in when your son was born. I'm kind of biased here, but I think your son's birth was one of the most important things to happen in the last 50 years. And possibly one of the more challenging things to happen in your marriage for the next 18. Your family was complete after the birth of me. I'm guessing that very early on, you knew that I would be a handful, and that Gail and I were all you could handle. So as I was typing this out more and more, I'm thinking about numbers, and they're very interesting. Out of the 50 years, or 18,250 days, you've been married. It was only the two of you for 3 of those years, or a measly 1,095 days, before children. The strength of your marriage is a great example for Gail, Shane, and I, and Angel and I, for how to have a long marriage. According to some internet research, the average length of a marriage before divorce is 8 years. And if your parents are happily married, your divorce rate decreases by 14%. While Gail and Shane have been married almost 24 years, while Gail and I, not Gail, Angel, have been married for 20 this year. So we have already beat the 8-year average, and I am sure we will all want to make it to 50 years just like you have. As the old saying goes, actions speak louder than words, and your actions as a married couple have been a great example for your children and others. Since your marriage is more about family from my view, much of what I'm going to say and recall about your marriage is what I remember. There were lots of good family memories. Some of the more memorable ones for me were, I call it the Triangle Camping Trip. Maryland to Florida, Florida to Texas, Texas to Maryland. I can remember stopping at Civil War battlegrounds in the South, a restaurant in Texas that had a slide in the middle of it and let you throw peanut shells on the floor. And as Gail reminded me yesterday, would cut your tie off if you wore one. Not a concern for me. I don't like ties. For all I know that, the friend we stayed with had a convertible that we got to ride in. Not sure who your friend is. Was there that time in Texas. For all I know, they may be here celebrating the anniversary with us. I don't know. But it was a distinct memory for me, along with some of the more bizarre backwoods spots that we set the camper up for a night. The European vacation. I believe that I was 14 at the time of this vacation. Luckily, it did not turn out like the Chevy Chase movie version of European Vacation. And it's the one that will always be remembered distinctly for a few things. The huge Lego display that we saw, I'm not sure what country it was in, but I'm guessing Switzerland. Germany, you're better than me. I remember where I drank the beer. The beer that you let me drink at the Hofbrauhaus in West Germany, along with getting sick after drinking it. Last but not least, Dad and I getting off the train at one of the borders to mail some letters, leaving Mom and Gail on the train with no passports. Since I was carrying them and coming back to the train to find Mom and Gail in not so good a mood for having to deal with border agents that did not speak English very well. There was also the Boy Scout trips that we did, and I loved. It helped me develop my love for the outdoors. Most importantly, Dad, you made this a priority, and it was a time we spent together. There was a trip that you took me across the country from St. Louis to Oregon as a graduation trip. It was just the three of us, and there were some good memories from that trip. All the national parks that we hit along the way were fantastic. However, at the time of the trip, I probably thought all the dusty roads you took us on that seemed to lead to nowhere was a waste of time. But looking back on it, I realized that I've seen some parts of the country that some people will never see. See if I can get through this. And for that, I'm thankful. I had a goal of hitting all 50 states by 30 years old, and this trip helped me knock quite a few off the list. Never made it to 50 by 30, so I've changed the goal to 50 by 50. Free to go. Unfortunately, none of them connect. You've taken my kids on many of these adventurous trips as well, and I'm not sure if they have come to the same realization as I have yet, but you have given them a wonderful gift to see parts of the country that they may never see again. Of course, 2 cruises that you so graciously took your children and their families on. One to the Caribbean with your kids and 8 grandchildren, and this most recent one with your children and their spouses to Alaska. That trip is what knocked me down to 3 states to go. Thanks, Mom and Dad. That was a big one on my list to get to. Glad you took me at 43 because I may not have come home had I been in my early 20s. Holidays. It was one of the most favorite times of the year as a kid. Thanksgiving and Christmas, it was about family and of course toys. We had aunts, uncles, cousins around our house, or theirs, for Thanksgiving. And how can you beat Christmas when we lived in Florida? Gail and I got new bikes that Gail could not see right in front of her nose when looking out the door. I always knew she needed glasses. These 2 holidays were always fun for me, and Dad, one Thanksgiving you said something that has stayed with me more than anything else. This sort of thing is hard. One Thanksgiving. I don't recall who was there, but it was more than our family. I don't really recall what the topic of the discussion was. However, I recall clearly what you said to your friend that it pertained to me. You said it took your son to show you that it didn't necessarily need a 4-year college education to be successful. Seems like such a small little statement that you made. But I think the impact on me was a way of you saying that you were proud of my accomplishments and decisions that I had made. I will never forget. There were also some not so good times in the 24 years that I lived with you. 2 words, high school. My recollection was this was some of the most difficult times that Dad and I ever had. We made it through, but it was not without much arguing and Mom having to be in the middle of the chaos that was created from our disagreements. There was also the time that I took your new car without permission and promptly got rear-ended by another driver. Luckily, you were in Colorado. With Mom for a week, I believe, so breaking the bad news over the phone gave you a week to calm down and me a week to line up repairs and rental cars. The death of your parents My grandparents, some of the hardest times for me growing up, when my grandparents passed away. You were always there to comfort me, when I'm sure that you were both in just as much pain as I was. When Grammy passed, I just moved to Pennsylvania, and Carissa was a newborn. I went to the funeral without Angel. We stayed home with our 3 young kids. I thought I would have no problem keeping it together, but boy was I wrong, that you were there for me then as well. Not keeping it together here either. Through it all, Mom and Dad, you were always there for Gail and I. You supported us through the good decisions and the bad. Helped us pick up the pieces from the bad decisions. I'm sure that you picked up your fair share of pieces from my dumb decisions. I picked up some of the pieces as well, stuck them in the trunk of your car. It's all part of God's design for turning children into adults. I saw the arguments that you had and the time it took to heal from some of those arguments, and even though you disagreed, I saw the love that you had towards one another. I saw how you showed your love to your parents as they got older and needed more of your care. I saw how you loved others and wanted to serve God, whether that be ministries in action, having migrant workers you ministered to, or having foreign exchange students in your home. 1 Corinthians 13:4-8 says, "Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends." You did all you could to model this for your family and to others. Of course, we are all sinners, and fulfilling that scripture is far more difficult than it may seem. You raised us in a Christian home and taught Gail and I both what it means to be a follower of Christ, that we're all sinners and are in need of a Savior, and that without us repenting and trusting Christ as our Savior, we would not have a right relationship with God. This is the single most important thing a parent can pass on to their children, and I praise the Lord that you passed it along to me. My prayer is that I can continue that legacy and pass this along to my children. I probably really don't have a good grasp of what your 50 years have really all been about. Much has changed in the last 50 years, as I am sure that we all know. However, one thing that has not changed is your love for God, for each other, and your marriage. You have been a tremendous example to Gail, Shane, Angel, and I for what a strong Christian marriage should be. And we hope that we can continue that legacy that you have started with our own families. I love you both very much. I'm glad Angel and I could be here.